Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, basically under this church that an abandoned church in my town, okay, right next to my school, they found the constructor wanted the cornerstone, so they took it out very carefully, and there was a time capsule in it. And in this video, you're gonna see them opening the time capsule.
Started. We have a number of you guys in the front are going to have to sit down because you can't see in the back, okay? First off, so everybody knows, this is the time capsule. So we actually have a time capsule. All right.
This is amazing.
Anybody want us to open this? Okay. So thank you for coming, and thank you for increasing the door count at the library today. It's a great honor to be here today. First, let me introduce my colleagues from the Township Committee. Deputy Mayor Nancy Adams, Township Committeewoman India Larrier, Township Committeeman Frank McGeehee.
He's stuck over there.
He's moving tables around. Thank you, Frank. So we have 25 speakers, and then we're going to open up the time capsule. Now we're going to go through this real quick. Again, I'm Vic DeLuca. I'm the mayor. I want to thank you all for coming out. Okay. And we're going to hear from the developer of the site who actually lives here in Maplewood. I see Greg Lembrick from the Township Committee came in. Thank you, Greg. We're going to hear from the developer who lives in town, he'll tell you how he found this, and he contacted us and we said, let's do something. We didn't know it was going to be this successful. Thank you. Then we're going to hear from some former pastors at the church. And as one said, if we had this many people when the church was open, the church would still be open. And then we're going to have our town historian speak for just a few minutes, and then we're going to open it up. We don't know what's in there. We don't know. There's no date on this. We know, Mark will tell you where it was found. So this is going to be exciting and new for all of us. So I want to introduce Mark Corelli, who is the developer of the apartment building. And again, he lives in town. He bought the mill on Valley and renovated the mill there. That's where his office. He's an architect. So Mark Corelli.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. And as Vic said, we're a little surprised at the turnout, but happy to see so many interested people. About a year and a half ago, I saw the opportunity to purchase the church, and our first goal was to try to see what we could do to repurpose it. And for everyone, it was structurally in disrepair. It had been abandoned for about 7 or 8 years, and the roof was literally falling in on it. So the church was in structural disrepair, and we couldn't salvage it. So once that determination was made, we developed a new plan that the town was all for, and I'm not going to get into that much, but we're building a new apartment building there. And in the course of the demolition, we made every effort to retain and salvage stained glass windows and anything that was of value. And I had asked the demolition contractor to please carefully remove the cornerstone because I just wanted it. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it, but it was a nice carved brown stone, and that's what they did. So prior to the bulldozers wrecking the place, we removed that stone. They put it on the side, gave me a call and said it's ready to go. I came over, and if you look at the poster, I turned it up. We turned the stone upside down. It took a couple of us because it probably weighs about 400 or 500 pounds. And there was a lead box cut into the bottom of it. And at that point, I realized there was something special, so I put it aside, and it basically sat in my storage room for about a year. Once the project was underway, I contacted Vic and the church and told them about this and suggested that maybe we do a little event to open it. So that's how it was discovered. I actually didn't remove it from the brownstone until yesterday. So up until yesterday, I had no idea what was in it. All I can tell you is it's a lead box, it's sealed, it's pretty heavy, and it rattles. So there's something in there, we have no idea what. And it has obviously been entombed in that cornerstone since they set the cornerstone for the building. So that's what we know right now. I guess we'll know more once we open it. That's all I have to say.
And how are you going to open it?
Okay, what I did, I brought a Dremel tool. You know, I'm an architect and a builder, so we have tools. It's got a diamond blade, and I already cut a piece of it to see. We're just going to zip around the top of it very carefully, remove the top, and hopefully the contents will be intact. So that's the plan.
Great.
What's the date on the...
The cornerstone actually has 2 dates to add to the confusion. It has 1838 or 6 to 1898, and I'll let the historians explain the significance of that because I'm not really sure.
Okay. Next up is Brad Moda, who is the current pastor of Morrow Church, Morrow Methodist Church up on Ridgewood. But Brad was the pastor at Hilton from 1978 to 1981.
So just to understand why churches existed like that, that's when people walked to church and they didn't have the cars to get around. And that's why a lot of these smaller churches thrived at one time and then dwindled as people got cars and could travel to other churches. By the time I got to Hilton, it was established at that point as a teaching church. It wasn't the official name, but they taught people how to be pastors. So I was finishing my first year of 3 in seminary. I went to that church as their pastor at the age of 22, and I knew nothing. Nothing. They taught me everything. I had my first funeral, wedding, all those at that church. And the people were so compassionate. But they taught us things and gave us courage to do things that perhaps we couldn't do at a young age and not know enough about it. Let me give you what I think is the spirit of Hilton Church. I was called at midnight by one of the parishioners, a young mother with 1 child. She was very upset, asked me to come to the house. I got to the house to find a car upside down on top of her car. They had gone down the street, hit a boulder on the neighbor's house, tipped upside down, landed on top of her car, and destroyed the corner of the house, including the chair she had just been sitting in. I got there, I talked to her, she said, I don't know what to do, I don't have money for a car, I'm all shook up, I don't know what to do. So I called the leaders of the church, which were about 7 people, congregation of about 30 that attended. They took up a collection and they bought a used car with $400 for this young mother and her child. 3 days later, I get a call from a young man asking to come in to talk to me that he was in dire straits. Came into my office, which was in the parsonage right next to the church. He was there with his wife and a young child. He said, I don't have money for food for my baby, formula, or diapers. Is there anything the church can do? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm in trouble. I said, what trouble? He said, I was driving my car, I was drunk. I went down a nearby street, my car flipped upside down. I lost my car, my family's safe, but I don't know what to do. Now, as a pastor, it's like you don't then just pass the plate. You say, okay, I've got to have to be honest with the congregation. And he said, I understand. So I took him across the street to where I think there's a quick check now. And I didn't have a lot of money, so I could only afford a few diapers and a little food for that day. But when I called the leaders of the church together, they came to the church. I gave them the circumstances, and they said, that baby needs diapers and formula. There's no question. And they took an offering. They went out and bought formula and food for that child and family. That's the spirit of that congregation, and that spirit taught a lot of us.
Thank you, Brad. We have another former minister there. He was there from 1985 to 1989 when they had the 150th anniversary, and that's Reverend John Callanan.
Thank you, Mayor. I could echo the comments that Brad made because I went there as a student after only 1 year of seminary at my first church, being completely green. And one strong memory I have is how gracious the congregation was. I often would write my sermon outlines on Sunday mornings at the Maple Crest Diner, so I have no idea what they put up with the first year. In addition to stories like Brad shared, I remember a lot of fun spirit. We had two guys, Earl Parks and George Gumpel, who kind of did everything around the church. And one late fall, they decided they were going to service the snowblower. And it got really hairy when they pulled it into the kitchen and serviced it in the kitchen. And they decided they had to run it. So they're running the snowblower inside the church with the fumes all going on every which way. I also remember a really great sense of Christian service and mission. One of the older members was a woman by the name of Frida Zirkel. She lived up here on Boyden Parkway. And when I went there, she probably was 88 or 89 at the time. By the time we left, she was in her early 90s. And what I realized over the first couple of years there was she was the person in the church who was individually giving the most to mission. And one day I started talking to her about it. And she told me that she grew flowers in her backyard during the good weather. And she would cut them. She would take 2 different buses to go to a hairdressing shop up in Montclair, and she would sell the flowers, and she donated all that money to mission. That was a lifelong mission project for her. But for the rest of the congregation as well. When I was there, we hosted one of the county senior citizen nutrition sites. And when I first went there, there were only like 15 people in church on a Sunday morning. And yet this group served 100 meals 5 days a week, 50 to 60 meals in the fellowship hall, and another 40 or 50 on Meals on Wheels. So a great spirit. So it's my honor to be here with all of you this morning.
Thank you. So we heard from the 2 former pastors the spirit that lived in that church. And the next person, just to say a few words, his grandfather was the civil engineer for Maplewood when Maplewood was really developed. The thing we want to note about him, that was Edmund Halsey. He ran for governor on the temperance ticket, no drinking. And I don't know how you feel about it, but he tried to close all the bars on Springfield Avenue. And he also, the other thing here is that there used to be actually a stagecoach trail here, and then it was also the site of a bicycle race every year. Used to be bicycle races out here, and Halsey talks about that too. We have his grandson, James Halsey, just to say a few words. His grandfather was very important in town and also very important in the church. So belt it out there, Mr. Halsey.
Thank you. You said I only had to say hello. Hello. However, I did not know my grandfather. He passed away when I was 13 months old. But I have one story I'd like to share. He was, already the mayor has told you, he was anti-alcohol. And our ritual on Christmas morning after church was, in those days, I have to back up a bit. In those days, the engineers got gifts. We don't call them gifts. We call them gifts. Gifts. At the end of the year, a little louder. At Christmas time, we got gifts, and the typical gift was alcohol. Grandfather said nothing. He brought it home. He had my father and uncle and aunt open the alcohol and dump it down the drink. However, my father says at the time he was 16, so that made my oldest uncle, 21. He used to get into the booze a little early and hide it around the house. My father told me this story, so when my grandmother
They can hear us.
my job was to clean out the house. And to this day, I have 2 bottles of booze sitting on my bookcase.
All right, temperance booze.
My grandfather.
So, next up, we're going to hear from the Historic Society folks. Susan Newberry and Gail Safian. We're going to need you to yell as loud as you can. I know you're suffering here from a cold.
Sorry.
Oh boy.
I know you're getting anxious about actually seeing
Louder.
the time capsule. Well, it's a little hard.
Okay.
But I do want you to take a look before you leave at the display that we created about the church, what it looked like in the beginning, how it changed over time, and then the community of Hilton, which was called Middleville when the church was first built.
Yes.
The church was established in 1836, so that's why that date was on the cornerstone. And then the new sanctuary, the shingle-style church with the steeple, was added in 1898, so that's why that date's there. So my guess is it could be that's when the time capsule was put into the cornerstone. It could have been later when there were, they celebrated anniversaries in the 20th century, the 75th, the 100th anniversary, the 125th, and the 150th. So, but then we know it wasn't then. Right, so anyway, this was a wonderful church. It was very integral to the community, and Hilton was a very tight-knit place. So,
one thing I'd just like to add from a historical context is that, as you may know, Newark was founded in 1666. It's now about the 350th anniversary. And North Farms, which is what this area was called, was kind of a little community in the whole Newark area. And that was there in the early 1700s. And it was Springfield Avenue and others, actually not Springfield, this didn't go through, but the streets around here became major post roads going into Newark and to Morristown. And as Susan said, in 1830, the North Farms applied for a post office of its own.
That's right.
No, it Anyway, whenever it did that, that's when they had to change the name from Middleville. So they became Middleville because they thought North Farm sounded too bucolic. And then when they wanted a post office, Middleville was already used by some other towns, so that's when it became the Hilton part of town. And then eventually it was absorbed into Maplewood as part of the whole community.
And the Hilton section was known for growing strawberries. It was a large commercial.
I've got a whole feature up there about the strawberries.
And the first library, the first Hilton library, was on the second floor of the fire station that's on the corner of Boyden and Springfield, across from the pool. The library was on the second floor, and then it moved here. Let's give the folks standing in the snow a round of applause. So, let me tell you my story about the Hilton Church. It goes back to 1995, and the reason I'm actually here as the mayor. That was the place where folks in the Hilton came together to have the first meeting of the Hilton Neighborhood Association. And we came there, about 100 people came there because we weren't happy about what was going on. And from there we started the Hilton Neighborhood Association. I then became president in the late part of '95, and then got elected in '97, and have been doing this stuff ever since. So this church is very important to my own political path here in Maplewood. All right, Mark, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
This is over 200 years old.
They're going to open the time capsule
Just
now.
be careful of anything that might come up.
Sailors see rainfish they say.
Will it be a trap or will it be actual paper?
Go! You hear the drill?
Opening. Get your finger out of the way.
It's like my dentist.
Does that take a while? I think we're on live news too. Hope maybe my dad's watching. He's at Syracuse College right now.
Pretty silly, I know, but I couldn't wait to get there. Aren't you? You're part of the happening.
So there's CBS News and there's Bio 1 Bio's 1 over there. Millions of other people.
Little known fact, I went to Columbia High School.
We're about halfway there.
Halfway. Will it ever open?
Is Geraldo in the house?
You have to remember though, guys, it's a lead box, so.
President Women and told me to move away.
We're all gathered here today to get some lead dust in our lungs.
The ghosts of the past will be coming out
There's something there. It was just somebody.
Here we go. This is the last one.
If I knew how, I would be live streaming this. We're 2 inches. We're opening history right now.
There's something in it.
There it is. Taking video.
You see it?
Yay! Papers. Papers.
The newspaper.
There's a newspaper.
It's good. The newspaper will tell us exactly when they think.
We have a newspaper dated 1898. Newark Evening News.
The Newark Evening News from 1898. The headline, President Trump, no. You don't want that one, let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Watson trip to Spain's coast. Commodore to have 14 ships at his service. Let's see. Wreck survivors coming to New York. And then we're going to begin the attack on Santiago tomorrow.
How much?
This is Newark, New Jersey, July 8th, 1898. 12 pages, price 2 cents.
Next, we have a copy of the New Testament. A little bit of powder on it, but if we brush it away, it's going to be in pretty good shape, too.
I'm trying to open here. It says here, the New Testament, translated out of the original Greek, New York, American Bible Society, 1897. It's in great shape.
Okay, have some handwritten notes about the church.
Oh, boy. Oh,
Officers of the church and members of the church, so that should prove
Is there any money?
historic for the church to see who was actually members there.
The minister, Reverend Goodwin, was photographed.
And the paper's in good shape.
Yeah, they have, these are officers of the church, members of the church.
Read
This
one.
is the construction crew. You have to sit down. This is the construction crew thanking them, and the architects.
Really?
Avery. You know him?
No.
Could you read one?
Do they have the minister's name?
Here it is, right here. Pastor Mr. J. Goodrich, Madison, pastor of the church. We got business cards.
Here's the church rebuilt 1836, 1898. It's a picture of the church.
Wait, they had cameras back then?
When it was new.
Okay, this looks like a newsletter, the Christian Advocate, in incredible shape. It's dated July 7th, 1898, and it looks like it was printed yesterday. It's in great shape.
That was the day before the newspaper.
Okay, anybody who's available. We have a revival meeting coming up. The Methodist Episcopal Church Hilton, Friday, December 21st to Sunday, January 2nd, 1897-98.
Don't miss it.
I wish we could turn back time.
Sunday services every afternoon at 4 o'clock. Preaching services every evening at 8 o'clock. Reverend Goodrich, Reverend Alexander.
Alexander Hamilton.
This is the business card. Mr. J. Goodrich Madison, pastor of the church.
Okay, here is an invitation. Your presence is requested at the laying of the cornerstone of the Hilton Episcopal Church, Methodist Episcopal Church. Saturday afternoon, July the 9th at 4 o'clock. Reverend Hammond is presiding. Do you know these folks? No? You never heard of them? No, okay. Another number of Richard Van Horn, Morris Gibbs, John Stone, Butts, Boynton Avenue near Springfield Avenue.
My school was right across the street.
There used to be a trolley car that came into Maplewood. And here it says, the Maplewood cars, the trolley cars, transfer to Hilton. So people from outside the area would take the trolley car here up Springfield Avenue and get off and get on the Hilton line. You got coins?
And last but not least, the money.
We're rich.
Oh wait,
We
missed something? Okay.
Hold them by the end.
All right, we have the builder. The mason and builder was David Knight. The plumbing was Harry Van Ness. We have Van Ness Terrace in town. And we have the contractor was Meeker. And for all of you who may be interested, furniture moved with care.
Is there a phone number there?
There's no phone number.
Is there a fax
all
number?
Of these two gentlemen lived in Irvington, or had Irvington addresses, so is this one too. So, but you remember, these were all different times in different towns at one time. Right? Is that it?
And last but not least, we have coins. 4 pennies.
We have 4 pennies.
Dated?
1898.
We have a nickel that is a little oxidized, and I can't really.
Oh boy, this is too oxidized to read. These pennies look like there are 4 of them from 1898, 1 cent each. The penny.
I couldn't clean the pennies.
The nickel, we can't tell what it is, what year.
Couldn't fit in here. Look.
Oh my God, that's so.
Yeah, we got here just in time.
So we're thinking, because the coins are all 1898, that the box is from, and the newspaper, that the box is from 1898. So who's good with math?
I am.
How many years old is this then?
Oh God.
Very good. 18 years old. Here's a dime from 1898.
Hamburgers. I was hoping
There you go.
Bamberger.
Okay. So,
Wait, were there even light bulbs?
that's it.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
So this is it. This is our box from 1898. Let's thank Mark Corelli, because if it wasn't for his insight and willingness to preserve history, we wouldn't be here today. Thank you, Mark. We have not figured out what we're doing with this. We're going to display it somewhere. We're not going to be able to have everybody come up here now. What we will do is we will leave this here. We'll ask people to come up in groups if you want to look at it. We ask you not to touch it because it's very brittle, the papers and all that. We'll put a little display out here.
And yeah, that is history.